Hello everyone and welcome to another video here on White Coats and Corgis. Today I'm going to be showing you a clip from the Premed Experience, which is a free virtual event that I hosted back in March of 2023. Alright, let's go ahead and get started.
Nice. And there's a question here that I actually want to answer because I think it's a follow-up to the question we asked earlier, when you should take the MCAT, especially
Uh-huh.
if you're looking at gap years. So
Mhm.
the student is asking, if you plan to take a gap year, would taking the MCAT in the fall of your senior year and applying for medical school in the spring of your senior year be the way to do that? So the first thing you'll want to be aware of is that the MCAT is not offered every month of the year. So specifically, the MCAT is offered from the months of January through September of each year. So that means the MCAT is actually not offered in October, November, or December, right? So if by fall you meant early fall in September, you certainly can do that, right? And then you can plan on applying for medical school in May/June of the following year. So that timeline can work perfectly fine, but just be aware that if you're looking at the fall, it's either September or you're looking at January. So that's what most students are looking at in the fall.
Oh, okay, wow. Just sort of, Ken, while you're talking about this stuff, to piggyback off that, because I saw a good question there. Somebody asked when they should start scheduling, studying for the MCAT, basically planning a schedule for the MCAT, and how our programs even help with the scheduling of the sections, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. So when to start studying for the MCAT is a really good question to ask. And there's actually another question you have to answer first as part of
Hmm.
that, which is to figure out when you want to apply to medical school. So as if you were present earlier in the morning presentation by Dr. Marinelli, she was talking about the timeline for applying to medical schools. And you can apply as a traditional applicant. So that would be in the summer after your junior year. You can take a gap year. So that would be applying the summer after you graduate, or you can take multiple gap years. And at that point, you're just applying any period of time after you graduated. With regard to the MCAT, it's actually quite simple, which is you simply need to take the MCAT before you're going to apply to medical school. And because medical school applications generally open at the beginning of the summer around May or June, if you're able to take the MCAT by spring of that year you want to apply, then you're going to be good to go. However, it doesn't mean that you can't take the exam earlier. So there's a number of students who will take the MCAT earlier, so they'll take it in January, or they'll even take it the summer before they're planning on applying to medical school. There's really no right or wrong answer there. Any of those time periods are fine as long as you're taking the MCAT before you apply to medical school. Typically, what I recommend students to focus on is to think about when you're going to have a good period of time to be able to focus on the exam. So what I mean by that is you don't want to sign up to take the MCAT this May if you know your spring course load is going to be very heavy. You want to make sure that whatever test that you pick, the months before that test date are going to give you adequate time to be able to prepare for the exam. So that's why some students, they'll take lighter course loads in the fall to prepare for a January test date, or they'll take a lighter course load in the spring for an April or May test date. And there's also other students who they don't want to worry about classes at all. So they decide that they want to dedicate a summer to focusing on the MCAT.